Let me tell you something that blew me away. A few months ago, CNN published a piece called How Experts Would Fix the Affordability Crisis. They asked 27 of America's top economists, business leaders, and policy thinkers a single question. What's the one best thing Washington can do right now to improve the cost of living for Americans? 27 experts, 27 answers, and not one of them mentioned raising wages. Not one. I mean, what in the actual I'm not saying prices aren't high. They are. I'm not saying you're wrong to feel squeezed. You're not. What I am saying is that the people who spent 50 years rigging the economy against working Americans are thrilled to talk about the price side of affordability. Because here's the trick. As long as you're focused on prices, you're not focused on wages. And wages are where the real heist is happening. Let me show you the numbers. In 2020, the Rand Corporation calculated how much income the bottom 90% of American workers had stolen by the upward redistribution of income since 1975. Their original answer was $47 trillion through 2018. The latest update, published last year, puts the cumulative gap at nearly $80 trillion. In 2023 alone, the bottom 90% of full-time workers were paid $3.9 trillion less than they would have earned under the income distribution we had in 1975. That's roughly $32,000 per worker every year out of your paycheck. Today's median full-time American worker earns about $63,000. Had wages kept pace with the economy, that same worker would be earning closer to $100,000 per year. The gap isn't because eggs got more expensive. The gap is because for 50 years, almost every dollar of productivity growth went to the top. And before anybody tells you we can't afford to pay working people more, we have done it before. In 1978, working Americans captured 68% of the economy. Today, it's 52%. In 1970, corporations took 6% of GDP as profit. Today, they take twice that amount. That's almost $1.7 trillion extra in profits. Same country, workers that are even more productive, but CEOs and investors just decided to keep more of it for themselves. The money to pay you a living wage is there. It's just sitting in stock buybacks, dividends, and executive compensation. They have it. They have been hoarding it. It's time for them to give it back. Affordability says the problem is groceries. The problem is gas. The problem is rent. The problem is tariffs. The problem is housing supply. There is truth in all of that. Prices have increased substantially, and it's having a real impact on the majority of Americans. But affordability never says the problem is that you are being paid a fraction of what your work is worth. And this is exactly what the wealthy and powerful want, because they know nobody can actually fix prices. Not the president, not Congress, not the Federal Reserve. But wages? Wages are easy to fix. 2 laws. That's all it takes. Number 1, raise the federal minimum wage. It's the solution staring us in the face, and yet not one expert mentioned it. We used to raise the minimum wage every year until Ronald Reagan stepped in. If the minimum wage had simply tracked productivity since 1968, the way it was supposed to, it would already be over $25 an hour. By the time we phase a higher wage in, it should be closer to $30. And yes, that's more than 4 times the current minimum wage, not because it's a radical increase, but because that's how far behind the minimum wage has fallen. Number 2, raise the overtime salary threshold to $90,000 a year. Right now, if you earn more than about $36,000 in salary, your employer can work you 60, 70, 80 hours a week and not pay you a single extra dollar. In 1975, That overtime protection covered roughly 65% of salaried workers. Today, it covers less than 10%. Just restoring the 1970 threshold for inflation gets you to about $74,000 a year. Add the productivity growth wages were supposed to track, and you're at $90,000. If we did just those two laws, approximately 65% of the American workforce would get a substantial raise. Hundreds of billions of dollars flow out of stock buybacks and CEO compensation and into the paychecks of the people who actually built the wealth. Overnight. Remember those 27 experts CNN asked? They couldn't fix prices. Nobody can. But every single one of them could have said, raise the minimum wage, raise the overtime threshold, strengthen unions. Every one of them had the chance to name a solution that is within our control, and not one did. Because every dollar that goes into your paycheck is a dollar that doesn't go into a stock buyback, a dollar that doesn't go into a billionaire's third yacht, a dollar that doesn't go into the political machine they've built to keep you confused about why you're broke. So the next time some politician or cable news anchor or corporate spokesperson starts wringing their hands about affordability, ask yourself the question, why do they fixate on the price of eggs and never mention the size of your paycheck? Because they know exactly what you'll do when you figure it out. Thanks for watching. And if this makes you as mad as it makes me, subscribe and let's tear down this failed economic system and build back a system that actually works for every American.